Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jerry. Thank you for coming back to see my continuing episode by episode review of The Mandalorian. It's the season finale. So it's episode 8, and for those keeping track, it's episode 16 of the overall series of The Mandalorian. This one is called The Rescue. Now I'm going to hit pause before we go any further. Spoilers, big spoilers. I mean, obviously this is being posted long after the series has gone out, but spoilers anyway. Never want to spoil anybody. Also, I do apologize again for the lighting and the sound and everything. So hopefully, if we get views and get likes, I can be able to upgrade things and we can do these a lot better. So, all right, we're going to jump right into it in no particular order. Those kind of loosely goes in the order of things happening in the show. So it's called The Rescue, directed by Peyton Reed. And the first thing to talk about is that we bring back Bo-Katan and Kasha Reeves, which excellent. I mean, we kind of knew they were coming back for the finale. They obviously wouldn't just have them come up for one episode, though it does kind of look like they did that with Ahsoka, but that's another point. It was great to see Katie Sackhoff back as Bo-Katan, the voice actress who played her in all the animated shows in the Clone Wars and whatnot. So it was also really great to see that Kasha Reeves' reaction to Boba Fett. And I think that does a really good job of kind of building on that there's history in this universe and it's a lived-in space, because her reaction is like, it shows how people feel about the clones, shows that Boba Fett has a reputation. When we first meet him in the movies, in live-action movies, and Han Solo says, Boba Fett, and then he gets his famous, hitting the jetpack and sent off his horrible demise, which we of course now know he gets out of, but that kind of shows there he is a known person in the universe, and him being a clone adds to that. And I think that was a nice show of how people see clones in it and how the Mandalorian specifically see and view Boba Fett. So that was excellent. Also, now we're going to kind of jump ahead. That now having Bo-Katan and Kasha Reeves in this, and we got to bring back Cara Dune, and Fennec has been traveling with Boba. We have a female-heavy team, and the ones that go into Moff Gideon's cruiser, it's led by the team. It's all the women except for Din, who's the only man who goes on there, because Boba Fett stays in Slave One and is their cover, their distraction, whatnot. So this, I think, is an example that Hollywood needs to follow for how to do girl power, girl teams, how to do it right. Because in other movies and other places, when all the women are together and they're fighting together, they kind of like look, wink and nod at the camera, or look and wink and nod at each other. It's done very much like, look everybody, we're doing girl power. And here it didn't have that. I'm not going to say anything more about it, because as a guy, I don't feel like I have that much say to be able to say on that part. But I think as a man watching it, it didn't feel pandering, it didn't feel forced, it didn't feel like they were doing it just to have girl power. And I'm glad I can see that for my daughter can watch this later on when she gets old enough and be able to see kick butt women doing their thing without it being a weird. All right. So now now that they're on the cruiser, we get to see more of those dark troopers that we saw in the last episode. Now, I said before in the end of the last episode that as soon as I saw these guys, I immediately in my mind, I thought of another franchise, and I asked you guys what you think in the comments, which obviously I'm filming this before I got to read the comments, but see if anybody got it right. As soon as I saw those guys, I thought they look like Mortal Kombat cyborgs. The way the face looks, the mechanical looks, the mask, I mean, not the face, obviously they're in a mask. How that whole look immediately made me think of the cyborgs from Mortal Kombat series. So that's what I thought. What do you guys think? If you didn't comment on the last video, comment on this one. What you thought about what those cyborgs look like. The Dark Troopers look like. They look like cyborgs from Mortal Kombat. Anyway, so Mando, Din Djarin, his fight with Moff Gideon. We all knew the whole reason that he had that Beskar steel spear was that he could stand a chance against the Darksaber. And we got to see an excellent fight between Moff Gideon and Din, with Moff having the Darksaber and Din having the Beskar spear, and it was excellent. I thought that there might be a chance that Grogu was going to somehow come in and save himself, so to speak, but it was really a nice payoff to see that fight. Had been building up for episodes all season, well, since last season really, when we first saw the Darksaber at the end of last season. So we got to see that pay off. It was a very good fight, and it felt like they didn't drag it out, but it felt like it got this nice screen time. I think that was very well done. Right, and so now then that brings into when Din brings them to the bridge and is handing it off to Bo-Katan. It was appropriately and honestly very well done that Bo was very awkward. She was like, oh no, you won the Darksaber in battle. That means you're the rightful wielder of it, and in a certain way, the rightful ruler of Mandalore. So what does that say? That was my thought. I was like, oh no, is Din now, because he's a legit Mandalorian from the Death Watch, so he could very much take that Darksaber and roll them all with one saber. And so it was very well done. They did that. He did all the right things. He I wield it to you. I give it to you. He did all this stuff he was supposed to do. I don't want this, which again is classic trope of the, the reluctant hero, the reluctant ruler. The reason, same thing with another Disney property, Marvel. The reason Captain America was great at being, Captain America, the leader, is because he didn't necessarily want to be the leader. He just wanted to fight and just wanted to serve his country. So you can see that there. I'm wondering if they're going to continue that, if that's going to be something, more of a payoff later. I think it will be. I think that it would be amazing if they had Din be like the new Mandalore. It was very well done. I thought that was very cool. And then you had that whole impending doom of the Dark Troopers coming in. They're like, oh no, this is going to be our last stand. And then the big thing of the episode, when everybody's talking about, I'm just going to jump right into it, Luke Skywalker. As soon as the X-Wing started flying in, I was like, no, they're not doing that, are they? And he comes in and you see the green lightsaber. I'm like, that can't be Luke. And you see the metal hand. You're like, they're making a Luke Skywalker. And he fights and he does it, and then he pulls the hood back. People say they didn't recognize that was Luke right away. And there's even a whole other video by someone else. I don't know who. I don't link it. I don't know anything about it. That's saying that people weren't recognizing Luke. There was one or two instances where I thought that he looked a little funny, but overall I immediately recognized him. I thought that there were some excellent shots of him. I thought that it was very well done. I thought it looked good. I didn't necessarily understand why people weren't recognizing him. I even had a friend who said that he still didn't believe it was Luke until R2-D2 came rolling out. And then once he saw R2 plus all the other things, and he's like, okay, that's Luke. I don't know how you missed that. I thought it was very obviously Luke. But tell me if you didn't think it was Luke and what you think about the CGI. I think that even the best CGI, which is really what this is, it's not going to look 100%, nor should it. I don't want actors replaced by CG. I don't think that would be good for the industry. I don't think it would be good for thespians or anything. So I'm glad that it doesn't look 100%. But I think it looked excellent, especially for a Disney Plus TV show. It's a half-hour TV show. It's not a feature-length film. It doesn't have a $60 million budget. I don't know what the budget is, but I think probably 1 million episodes, somewhere around there. If you know, tell me. I think that it was excellent for that. And I also thought it was so heartwarming, very touching, that Din's goodbye to Grogu. I think it was completely appropriate that he took off his mask. At that point, everything else goes to the side. He doesn't care who can see him. He is giving what he thinks is and very well may be, though I know it's not. He thinks it's his final goodbye to Grogu, this person who has really become his son. And you see it as he spends more and more time with him as the series progresses. It's more and more his son, to where he's calling him my kid at the end, as we're coming up to this. So I think that it was very much as a father, just thinking of sending my child off to train to be the best they can be, tugs at the heartstrings. And I think that they handled that very well. I thought it was excellent and well done. All right, and now I'm going to jump to the post-credit scene. I'm so glad that I saw a spoiler saying that there was a post-credit scene, because I don't know if I would have necessarily stuck around to see it. So there's I generally tend to avoid and don't like spoilers until after I've seen the material. But in this case, I'm glad that I got a little bit of spoiler that there was a post-credit scene with Boba Fett. Excellent. Very good scene. The whole thing was a play to the Luke coming in to save Han Solo in the beginning of Jedi. It was very, and it was obviously and very specifically played up to that and supposed to be like that, where we see, I believe his name is Bib Fortuna, the guy who took over for Jabba, which I really liked that he had put on a lot of weight since we saw him last, because say, oh, that's part of the gig, is you're sitting there eating those frog things and just being a glutton and being fat and lethargic. So I thought that him taking that guy out and taking on the throne was very good. And that Fennec then kind of sitting on his side right there, which I thought it could have very easily been a little weird because Fortuna had that Twi'lek slave girl there next to him, which Jabba obviously was always surrounded by them, chained up. I thought Fennec, if she would have stood in the same place, it may have referenced that a little bit more than I would have liked. So I thought it was smart to keep her those steps higher, like physically higher up than the slave girls were, and have her, while not necessarily in the seat of the throne, she did sit on the throne, on the arm of the throne, to show that she is almost an equal, still follows Boba, but is almost an equal to Boba. And that's set up for the book of Boba Fett, which will be a limited series along with the Ahsoka Tano one that is tying into the overall Mandalorian story. So super excited for that. Can't wait. Like I said, I suppose I'm gonna try to avoid them, but I do have some hopes and predictions and things of where that's gonna go. Tell me your thoughts about it below. I was gonna also include kind of my overall thoughts on the series. We don't really have the time for it, so I want to keep these videos short. But I will say that season 2 of The Mandalorian did not disappoint. It was amazing. It took everything from the first season to the natural progression, and made it all took it all to the next step. I cannot wait for these little spin-offs, and then ultimately season 3 and where this is going. What role Grogu is going to play in the next season. I wouldn't be completely opposed to having the next season be without Grogu, and then at the end of it have him pop up again, and then in season 4 we get him back, because we don't know, does he stay with Luke the entire time and that runs up into Kylo Ren's, or Ben turning into Kylo Ren for the sequel trilogy? We don't know. He's super powerful, so it seems pretty strange that he would fall so easily, but then again, he is still a baby, an adult or young adult. Ben Solo, Kylo Ren could conceivably take him out. Anyway, we don't know any of that, so I'd like to see that come up and be explained in future seasons. Anyway, excellent. So that's my wrap up for The Mandalorian, season 2. You can, what I'm going to be doing next is me watching I wrote down the name of it, the Disney Plus galleries of The Mandalorian. That's going to be coming up. I'm going to do those. I'm not going to do an episode per episode review of that one. I'm going to do a couple of episodes and do it as over 2. So I'm looking forward to watching that and then talking about that next. All right, until next time, guys, may the Force be with you, and subscribe, like, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Please support me so I can fix up the setup so it doesn't look and sound so terrible for you guys. Thank you very much, and see you next time.